Once upon a time, there was a merchant who sold all kinds of beautiful things, and he had a daughter named Amina, who loved everything that glittered or glimmered or sparkled in some way. She would look up at the chandeliers hanging from the ceilings and wish she could own one just like it. Or she'd see a vase with painted flowers and think how nice it would be to have a whole closet full of them. Amina's father saw how his little girl dreamed of having every pretty thing in the shop, and so he decided to give her something special for her birthday. He took her to the back of the store, where, hidden behind a blue curtain, sat a trunk made of cedar wood, bound with iron bands and locked with a silver clasp. "Here," he said, handing her a key. "This is your birthday present. Open it and take whatever you want." When Amina saw how ornate and heavy the trunk was, she thought there must be rubies or sapphires inside, maybe even diamonds. But when she opened the lid, she found old books instead, their pages brittle and yellowed with age. Confused, she looked up at her father, who explained, "I know this isn't what you expected, but I want you to read these stories. They will teach you about the world and its wonders. And when you finish each one, you may take something from the shop to keep as a treasure." Amina thought this wasn't fair. She wanted jewels or gold, not dusty old books. So she slammed the trunk shut, threw the key onto the table, and stormed off. Her father sighed. He knew that forcing his daughter to learn life lessons wouldn't work. Instead, he should let her experience the world and come to her own conclusions. So he didn't say another word. And soon enough, Amina came back. "Okay," she said with a smile. "What's the first story?" After hearing the tale, she went straight to the vases with the painted flowers and picked out her favorite. It was a tall, slender vase with delicate bluebells painted on the side. She placed it in the trunk, along with the book she had just read. Then Amina asked for the next story, which she listened to patiently. When it ended, she went to the chandelier. Standing on her toes, she tried to reach the one she liked, but it was too high. So her father climbed up the ladder and took it down. Carefully, they carried it to the trunk, and Amina put it in with the other treasures. This continued until every shelf and corner of the trunk was filled with Amina's prized possessions. Every time she wanted something new, she had to read another book. And after listening to hundreds of stories, her collection grew to include mirrors and jewelry boxes and candlesticks and all sorts of lovely things. But as time went by, Amina noticed that whenever she got a new treasure, she spent less and less time with it. She would admire it for a day or two, then put it away and never looked at it again. The mirror with the silver stars she'd gotten after reading the tale of Cinderella, the necklace with moonstones that she'd received after listening to the legend of the sea, which the hand mirror that once belonged to the Queen of Hearts, which she'd taken from the playing card guards after beating them at their own game. All of these treasures gathered dust in the trunk, forgotten in the back of the shop. One day, Amina came across a book with a cover made of vines and leaves. As she opened it, she realized it wasn't a storybook at all, but a blank journal. Looking up, she saw her reflection in the glass cabinet nearby. She no longer looked like the little girl who'd gotten the trunk filled with books. Her hair was long, and her face was pretty, but she couldn't remember if she had any friends her own age, or if she ever left the house anymore. Suddenly, Amina remembered all the times she'd begged her father to buy her a comb or perfume or ribbons. These were the things she actually wanted, not the treasures that sat in the trunk. She ran to the counter and grabbed a comb. Then, without looking at her reflection, she began to brush her hair. And as she did, she thought of all the stories she'd read and the adventures she could have. Maybe she could travel to distant lands, or meet a handsome prince, or go to a grand ball. But then something wonderful happened. As Amina put on perfume and tied ribbons in her hair, she heard laughter from behind the counter. It was her father, who was smiling. "You're finally acting like my little girl again," he said. And Amina felt a warmth spread through her chest. It wasn't because of the comb or the ribbons or the perfume, but because she was spending time with her father. Together, they arranged the treasures on the shelves and hung the chandelier from the ceiling. And as they worked, Amina told him about all the wonderful characters she'd met in the books. She talked about clever foxes and magic beans and gingerbread houses and boys who cried wolf. And her father listened patiently, asking questions and giving her advice. After a while, Amina stopped. "Father, do you remember the first treasure I took? The vase with the bluebells? How could I forget? You were so proud of it." Well, I brought it here because I don't want to collect things anymore. I want to travel. Travel? Yes. I want to see the world and have adventures, like in the stories. Her father nodded. Then we should start planning. Where do you want to go first? Mina thought for a moment. I want to go wherever their essay story waiting for me to become part of it. And as she said this, she remembered why she loved the stories so much. They weren't about the treasures, but about the journey. They weren't about the things you collected, but the memories you made. The merchant smiled. That's very wise for someone who's been collecting things for years, he said, handing her a brand new journal. Write down all your adventures. I want to hear about them when you come home. Mina hugged her father, then ran to get her cloak and hat. She was ready to explore the world and fill her new journal with stories. And as she left the shop, she turned back to wave goodbye. In the front window, the chandelier twinkled in the sunlight. The mirrored tiles glittered like fallen stars. On the shelves, the trinkets and treasures shimmered and shone. But Amina wasn't looking at them. She was already on her way to find a new adventure. And that's the story of how a girl who loved all things sparkly and beautiful learned that memories are more precious than possessions. Now it's time for you to become part of the story. What kind of adventurer do you want to be? Will you travel the world or stay safely at home? Will you seek out new experiences or stick to what's familiar? Will you collect things or collect memories? It's your choice. But remember, no matter what you decide, the most important thing is to live a life full of kindness and courage and love. Because that's what makes us human. That's what makes us kind. And that's what makes us adventurers. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button so that more people can discover this channel. Also, check out these other videos that might make you feel better. See you next time.